It's no secret that homes are getting more expensive. And on top of all of that, so are interest rates. So you might be asking yourself, is now still a good time to buy? I'm Rebecca, the Mortgage Mentor, and I'm here to help you make smart home buying decisions. Be sure to subscribe and chime in anytime with questions that you have. We are nearing all-time highs of a lack of affordable homes. So what do? First, let's look at how we got here. For the last 10 years, we have seen a decline on available homes. With the lack of inventory and an increase in homebuyer demand, what we've seen is that's increased the price of homes, especially exponentially over the last 2 years. The biggest thing that we're facing there is just from the standpoint that people continue to want to own their home. And additionally, not just as a primary, with an increase in income producing properties like Airbnb or investment properties, that has further limited the available homes on the market. Additionally, we've seen mortgage rates increase quickly. So what caused that? A big thing that happened there is that the Fed kept the Fed funds rate, the rate at which banks lend to each other, at zero, probably for too long. Now, the Fed does not set interest rates, but the monetary policy set by the Federal Reserve does impact the economy, which does impact mortgage rates. Additionally, beyond the Fed funds rate being too low for too long, the Fed was also buying mortgage-backed securities. Mortgage-backed securities are bonds that are the support for mortgage rates. And with the government continuing to invest in mortgage bonds, that further lowered rates, particularly during the pandemic, which led to the current housing bubble. During that period, we saw rates on the 30-year fixed touch 2.5%. Now the prevailing rate is over 5%. So the thing to keep in mind is, why did rates move so quickly, so high? The biggest factor there is that the Fed is tapering off their mortgage bonds, meaning being the biggest buyer of mortgage bonds, drawing back makes those bonds more expensive because there is not as much of a demand for them. The bigger factor on that, though, is going to be inflation. Inflation makes bonds a less attractive investment vehicle because that bond is worth less. So as long as inflation has pressure on the economy, mortgage rates are going to continue to be higher to try to outpace some of that inflation and give investors the return that's needed. Now, you've probably heard the argument, but rates have been higher. Rates were in the double digits in the 80s, and people still bought homes then, and everything was fine. The difference there is that we have a much different economy. Additionally, the thing is that housing affordability is more than just rates. The equation that helps to determine housing affordability are going to be home prices, the prevailing interest rates, and also median income. Even though rates are lower than they have been historically, relatively, home prices are more expensive, and also median wages have not kept up with these increases. That's why housing feels so expensive right now. With all that in play, why would somebody even consider to buy now? Is it a good time? Is it a bad time? Ultimately, it's a personal decision based off of your journey, your preferences, your needs. But here are some of the reasons that people are choosing to still buy in this market and what we can expect to continue to see for the balance of the year. Because in spite of all these dynamics going on in the marketplace, home prices are still predicted to continue to increase. Not at the levels that we saw in 2020 and 2021, but we are expected to still stay positive increases, and the difference in what is expected does vary from agency to agency as far as who is doing the predicting, but know in general that home prices are expected to continue to increase. The people that are buying now see the benefit of buying now and locking in the prices at least current day, even though they may be higher than they could have gotten that home for just 6 months ago, or particularly 18 to 24 months ago. Because of being able to lock in the price of the home, they know that they can hedge that against further increases in housing pricing. Now, what about having higher prices and higher interest rates? The thing is interest rates tend to move up and down easier and faster than home prices do. Because of the lack of inventory, because of still increased home buyer demand, it is unlikely that we're going to see home prices decrease in any kind of noticeable difference in the foreseeable future. However, as it's being predicted that we are going to run into a recession, the key point to keep in mind is that typically interest rates lower during a recession. So the people that are buying now are choosing to lock in the home price, even at the higher interest rates, with the hope and the anticipation of being able to refinance into a lower rate when we see a dip. Now, I'm not saying that that is a given because yes, home values could go down and you possibly wouldn't be able to refinance. However, if it is affordable now, then that can be a good decision to go ahead and lock in that price and keep a very close eye on interest rates and the market to be able to capture if you see a dip. And I am not saying that everybody should buy. It's not always the best decision, but just to understand that just because we're seeing a run up in interest rates, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad time to buy. Finally, if buying a home made sense 3-6 months ago, it probably still makes sense. You do need to talk with a lender to understand your current options based off of current market dynamics. And ultimately, that's what we're here to help you do, is to help you walk through those exercises to make sure that it still makes sense and that it's something that you're comfortable with. I'm Rebecca, the Mortgage Mentor. I'm licensed in 30 states plus DC. I would love to help, so please reach out with any questions.